I'm going to discuss about lasers. Okay, so these lasers are used everywhere. You have so coming to the a brief history of lasers. So first, the concept of laser was invented by the Einstein scientist known as Einstein. So in 1917, so he paved the way of stimulated absorption and emission. So which is the basic principle of working of the laser. Okay. So after that, so Myman was the first scientist who demonstrated and constructed the laser called ruby laser in 1960. So the speed up, okay, so the boost for the inventions of many lasers so was done in 1960s. Understood? So first gas laser, which is nothing but neodymium laser, and neodymium laser is nothing but solid laser. So first gas laser and solid laser. Okay, these two were developed. So in 1961, and after that, semiconductor laser was designed in 1962. And after that, another gas laser known as carbon dioxide laser, so which works in the infrared region, was built in 1963. So like that. So the first scientist who explained the main principle of laser was nothing but Einstein. So after that, these are different scientists who created the way for the invention of lasers. So now let us see what is laser. So laser stands for light amplification by stimulated emission of radiation. So laser, so in this uh, word, each letter has particular definition. So L stands for light, A stands for amplification, and S stands for stimulated, E stands for emission, and R stands for radiation. So all these topics are very important in the functioning of lasers. So first let us see what is this stimulated emission of radiation. Okay, so light amplification is nothing but, so the intensity of the light is going to be increased. That means the brightness of light is going to be increased. So stimulated emission of radiation is nothing but, it is the working principle behind the functioning of laser. So with the principle called stimulated emission of radiation, so we are going to use the laser. So we are coming to the laser. Laser is nothing a source which can generate highly directional and highly bright light. Okay, so whenever you see the laser, you could see it. Its intensity, its brightness is very much more. So how these characteristics are available for the laser is nothing but it is due to the functioning of all these things. Understood? Okay, so we'll see how this laser is going to be functioned. That is nothing but stimulated emission of radiation. So here laser is a device that generates highly directional and highly coherent and highly bright light. So by the process called stimulated emission. So before discussing about the main working principle of stimulated emission, so first we need to know what are different process will take place whenever any radiation. So the radiation is nothing but a particular kind of frequency, okay, or which has the certain wavelength present in it. Okay, so whenever this after completion of lifetime, it will come back naturally to the ground level. So this kind of process is nothing but spontaneous emission. Similarly, so the other process is nothing but stimulated emission, which is the main working principle of laser. Okay, so in stimulated emission, what happens is, so before the completion of lifetime, so we are going to give another photon. Okay, so we are going to supply extra energy so that the atoms comes back to the ground state immediately before expiring its lifetime. So this is how we are going to do in the process of stimulated emission. Stimulated emission is nothing but process. So whenever external energy is supplied to the atoms present in the higher energy states, okay, so then they will come back to the lower ground levels. So by emitting another photons which travels with the same photon which we have given before. So now we have two photons. That means we have increased the number of photons in the process of stimulated emission. So in stimulated emission, we are going to increase the number of photons. So those travel in the same direction along with the previously supplied photon, such that we can multiply number of photons. So in such a way, we will be able to obtain highly directional and highly bright light. So this is the function or working principle of laser, stimulated emission. Okay. So the process of supplying external energy so that to bring releasing one photon, so which whose wavelength lies in the visible light range. So that is nothing but the stimulated emission. So it will not spread its direction. So the width of the laser light is very less. That is in the order of centimeters only. But if you look at the length or range it is going to cover is nothing but it is going to cover the laser light length is in the range of thousands of kilometers. So why it is possible? Because of the high directional characteristic present in the laser radiation. So here with the help of small beam, okay, so it is going to cover thousands of length or range. So this is nothing but highly directionality. So within the with the small width present in the laser, so since all the induced photons which are generated by the principle of stimulated emission are going to travel in the same direction. So that is why the laser beam is highly directional. So next, coming to the concept of monochromaticity. So monochromaticity is nothing but, so whenever any photon, okay, or any radiation has the same amplitude and same wavelength, so this kind of quality is known as monochromaticity. So if you compare two waves, so if they have same amplitude and same wavelength, so then this kind of process is nothing but monochromaticity. So such kind of monochromaticity is very high for laser light. Why? Because so whenever by the process of stimulated emission, the incident photon strikes the atom present in the higher energy states. So whenever it strikes the atom, so it is going to come back to the ground level. So by by releasing extra amount of photons. So now we have two photons. These two photons travel with the same amplitude and same wavelength. So and they travel in the same direction as well. Okay. So that is why their phase is also going to be same. So that is why the laser light will have highly monochromaticity. So the next characteristic of laser is nothing but, so it has very high intensity. Okay, so high intensity is nothing but very much high brightness. Okay, so the laser beam, if you look at the conventional light and the laser beam, so you will see the brightness of laser light is very much more. So you can see the laser light have very bright intensity. So why does it happen? It is also the process called directionality only. Okay. So why? Because so whenever we are going to initiate the chain reaction, so which is the working principle called stimulated emission. So number of photons so that are released will increase. Okay. So they are going to multiply together. So one photon is able to generate two photons. Similarly, two photons are able to generate four. Four photons are able to generate 16. So like the number of photons are going to be multiplied and they are going to travel in the same direction. Okay. So that is why due to the multiplication of all these generated photons, the intensity or uh, brightness of the laser light is going to be increased. And the next characteristic of laser is nothing but coherence. So coherence is nothing but time delay phase. It is related to the phase actually. So here the laser has highly coherent beam. That means if you look at this figure, so here the coherence property tells us the predictability of amount of amplitude and the amount of amplitude and the phase. Okay, so whenever it is possible to guess what will come next, that is nothing but predictability. So whenever we can predict the amplitude and phase of one point with respect to another point, this is nothing but coherence. So we have two types of coherence available. So those are nothing but temporal coherence and spatial coherence. So whenever this prediction can take place within single wave, okay, so this is the single wave of light. So whenever it is possible, what will be the next point amplitude or next point phase? So then it is nothing but temporal coherence. So if the prediction happens for different waves, multiple waves, then it is nothing but a spatial coherence. So in spatial coherence, we are going to compare many waves. Okay, so if it is possible, what will be the amplitude of first crest to the another crest? Okay, if we know the first crest amplitude, so if it is possible to tell what will be the next crest amplitude and at what time the next crest or next trough is going to be started. So this kind of prediction is nothing but spatial coherence. Understood? So we have all these properties. Okay. So the characteristics of laser include they are highly directional, so they are highly monochromatic and they are highly intense and they have high coherence. So due to all these characteristics of laser has been very popular in many applications, which we will discuss later. And then next coming to the Einstein coefficients. So these Einstein coefficients are nothing but the relation among all these transitions. Okay, so that is upward transition and downward transition. So these upward and downward transitions are related to the three different processes of matter. So those are nothing but stimulated absorption, spontaneous emission, and stimulated emission. So we are going to relate these three processes with the help of one single relation. So that relation is nothing but Einstein relation. So in this we are going to use some constants. Okay. So to replace the proportionality. So those types of constants are nothing but Einstein coefficients. Okay. So here Einstein relation establishes the relation among three coefficients. So that is nothing but stimulated absorption, spontaneous emission and stimulated emission coefficients. So now let us see in which concepts we are going to get all these things. Okay. So first all these processes are classified into two different transitions. Why? Because these coefficients will occur in only two transitions, that is upward transition, that is when the atom is going from lower energy level, that is ground level, to upper energy level, that is nothing but higher energy state. So that is one kind of transition. And downwards transition takes place whenever the atom present in the higher energy level state comes back to the ground level or lower energy states. Okay, so now if you consider the upward transition, so here whenever we consider the upward transition, we have only one kind of upward transition present, that is nothing but raising the atom from ground level to upward level. So upward level. So here whenever we raise the atom that is present in the ground level, so let from lower energy state to upper energy state. So whenever we give extra amount of photon, Okay, so the atom absorbs that photon, it goes to upper energy level. So here this stimulated absorption rate is dependent upon the number of atoms present in the lower energy state N1 and the density of photons. That means what is the amount of energy we are going to supply to the atom. So that is why the stimulated absorption rate is directly proportional to N1 and it is again directly proportional to the energy density of photons. Okay, so whenever we replace this proportional by using equal to, so we are going to take one constant, that is nothing but B12. So stimulated absorption rate value is nothing but B12 N1 rho of V. So B12, why it is named like B12? One is the ground level state. So second level we have considered is nothing but upper energy state. So that is why B12 N1 rho of mu. Next, downward transition can take place in two different processes. So that is nothing but spontaneous emission or stimulated emission. Okay, so whenever we have a spontaneous emission takes place, that means without supplying any external energy, so we are going to get the atom to the ground level voluntarily. It comes back on its own after finishing of its lifetime. Okay, so this spontaneous emission rate only depends upon the number of atoms present in the higher energy level, that is nothing but N2. So only this rate is dependent upon the number of atoms present in the upper energy state. Why? Because here we are not going to supply external energy for spontaneous emission. Understood? That is the reason it only depends upon the number of atoms present in the higher energy state. So whenever we replace this equal to, so we are going to take the help of one constant, that is nothing but A21. A21 represents the upward transition, I mean downwards transition in spontaneous emission. Okay, so that means the downward transition occurs from higher energy level to the lower energy level on its own. Atom comes back to its own position on its own. Understood? So next concept is nothing but stimulated emission, which is the major principle of working of laser. Understood? So here this rate depends upon the number of atoms present in the upper energy state, so as well as the density of photon. Because here we are in stimulated emission, we are going to provide external energy. We are going to provide external photon. So that is why this stimulated emission rate depends upon the number of atoms present in the higher energy level. Similarly, the energy density of the photon. So that is why if you replace this proportionality with the help of one constant, we will be able to obtain B21 into N2 rho mu. Okay, so here at the equilibrium condition, so we will get these two transitions equal. That means the stimulated absorption is going to be equal to the sum of the spontaneous emission rate and stimulated emission rate. So B12 N1 rho of mu equal to A21 N2 plus B21 N2 rho of mu. So this is nothing but Einstein relation, which establishes between the three processes known as stimulated absorption, spontaneous emission and stimulated emission rates. Understood? So next thing we are going to discuss is nothing but population inversion. So whenever population inversion takes place, then only it is possible the stimulated emission to take place. So why? Because here what do we need is, we need to raise number of atoms from ground level to higher energy level. So whenever number of atoms present in the higher energy level are greater than the number of atoms present in the lower energy level, then population inversion can be achieved. So population inversion is generally defined as the number of atoms present in the excited or higher energy state is greater than the number of atoms present in the ground energy state, that is known as population inversion. Why it is necessary? Why? Because if we get only number of atoms present in the ground level, so then stimulated emission will not take place. So though it takes place, it requires much amount of time. whereas light source will not wait for that amount of time. So that is why it is necessary to raise the atoms very quickly from ground level to higher energy levels. Similarly, before completion of their lifetime, we need to get them back very quickly. So that is why population inversion can be created. Okay, so by supplying external amount of energy. So that is nothing but pumping mechanism. This we will discuss in next class. Okay, so here we are going to make the number of atoms present in the upper energy states greater than the lower energy states. So then only whenever one incident photon is applied, so all those atoms are going to come back very quickly to the ground states by emitting the external amount of energy. So in this way, we are going to increase the stimulated emission rate. So whenever stimulated emission rate is going to be increased, then we are going to get highly directional monochromatic and intense bright light. So due to the multiplication of photons. Understood? So here this population energy for any certain level um, is given by the expression known as Boltzmann's distribution. So here if you consider particular energy level E where the atom can be present at certain temperature T, so then the number of atoms, okay, so the number of atoms present at that particular energy level is given by Ni is equal to N naught into E power minus Ei by K. So this is nothing but a distribution of population at certain level E. Okay. So here N naught is the number of atoms present in the ground level. So here EI represents this particular energy state and K is the Boltzmann's constant and T is the absolute temperature. That means at certain temperature, so if you consider any energy level, so at that time, so you are going to get the number of atoms by using this expression. So here this is nothing but population inversion. So at normal conditions, the number of atoms present in the ground level are very much less, very much greater than the number of atoms present in the upper level. Okay, this is the normal condition. So if the number of atoms present in the ground level are greater, so stimulated emission will take place very late. So that is why it is necessary to create population inversion. Okay. So that means we need to raise the number of atoms present in the upper level by using some external pumping mechanism. We are going to supply external energy and we make the atoms present in the ground level to get excited on their own so that they will go to upper energy states. So where they can be supplied with some amount of another amount of energy, that is nothing but incident photon is going to strike that atoms. So before the expiration of their lifetime, so then they come back on their own. With the help of that external supplied energy, and they will emit extra number of photons so that they get multiplied, so they can create highly intense bright light. So you can see this lasing action, okay, how the laser will work in this diagram. So here these are different atoms present in the lower energy levels. Okay, so E1. So these are number